Hello there and welcome back to another gluten-free and yeast-free baking video. How are we doing today? Today I'm going to be making a gluten-free Christmas mince pie cake. This was originally meant to be like a bauble cake, but I couldn't find the cake pans to do that. So I was trying to rack my brain as to what I could make this become instead. And I thought that mincemeat was easy enough to add to a cake that I already knew the recipe for. So all in all, I think this is a great idea, and I think it's great for people who are gluten-free and also for people who don't like Christmas pudding. That's the right term, Christmas pudding. So, just a quick disclaimer to say that both of my dogs are down here with me. So in case you hear any background noise during the making of this video, that is what it will be. But to continue with this video, you will be needing the following equipment. Some measuring spoons, a spatula, some scales, some spray oil, a measuring jug, 2 20cm or 8-inch sandwich cake tins, a piping bag, a tall glass, some baking paper, an elastic band, a teaspoon handle, a cake tester, a skewer or a toothpick just to see if your cake is cooked, a palette knife, although this is totally optional, a sieve, a large mixing bowl, you will be needing 2 of these unless you were efficient on washing up, a display plate or cake board as I've decided to use today, a wooden spoon or an electric hand whisk, and a cooling rack. You will also be needing the following ingredients. For your cake you will be needing 200 grams of butter softened at room temperature. I like to use lactose-free butter. 200 grams of caster sugar, 4 medium-sized eggs beaten, 100 grams of mincemeat, 200 grams of gluten-free self-raising flour, and 1 teaspoon of gluten-free baking powder. For your whipped cream, which is going to be our filling for this cake, you will be needing 250 millilitres of cream. I like to use lactose-free cream. However, if you are doing this with normal cream, you will need to use 250 millilitres of double cream, 1 tablespoon of caster sugar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And finally, for your decoration, you will be needing some icing sugar. Let's go! First things first, measure out all of your ingredients so that they're completely ready for you to use, and then preheat your oven to 190 degrees C on a conventional oven, 170 degrees C on a fan oven, or gas mark 5. Now that we have done all that, it is now time to prepare our tins. So for this you will be needing your cake tins, your baking paper, your spray oil, a pen or a pencil, and some scissors. So now that we've got everything, it is now time to prepare our tins. So for this, all we need to do is draw around the bottom of our tins onto our baking paper and cut that out. And I actually have springboard cake pans, so mine can actually come out for me, which makes things so much easier. So I am going to roll this out, draw 2 circles of this, and have that all done and prepared before I begin spraying my pans. So just line it up as close to the edges as possible so we waste as little paper as possible, and draw around the edges. So that's the first one. So again, as close to the edges as possible and as close to your other cutout as possible. There we go. So there we go. So now I'm just going to cut along the edge here because it makes cutting out the circles so much easier. I think there is a quicker way you can do this, but honestly I just don't know it, so I'm not going to do it. Okay. And place this off to the side as we're now finished with it. So now that I've placed that off to the side, I'm now just going to cut out my circles. Now this is a tiny bit difficult because it keeps ravelling up on me, so I'm just going to wing it basically and hope that I get this right. So that's one. Place that off to the side. Hold on a second, I'm just going to let Magic in. Okay, so she didn't want to come in, so I'm now just going to cut out my second one. Sorry, my second lining. That's probably the best way to put it. There we go. Okay, that's that done. Oh, place your rubbish to one side. And now I am just going to spray down my first cake pan with some spray oil, making sure to coat the sides really well. Place my baking lining down with the side that you drew on facing down, because you don't want that to creep into your cake. That way. And flatten it as much as possible. And then I personally like to give the baking paper a bit of a quick spritz as well, just to make sure it's just to make it easier to come off of the cake when it is finished cooking. There we go. That's one. Place you down here for 2 seconds. Do the same with your other cake pan. Never just stay straight. Come on, love. There we go. That's in. So now that these are done, place these off to the side until we're ready to bake. So now that we've done all that prep work, it is now time to begin making our cake. So to do this, we are going to begin by mixing together our butter and our caster sugar. So we're going to place our butter into our mixing bowl in one big go. There we go. And now we're going to sprinkle on our caster sugar. Come on. There we go. Scraping down the sides to make sure it all goes in there as per normal. And now we're going to mix together until light and fluffy. Now that this is done, grab your eggs. Now that we've got our eggs, we are just going to simply tip these in one big go. Here we go. Scraping down the sides to make sure they all get in there. Now that our eggs are in there, we are going to mix these together until they're nice and smooth. This is really important as we don't want there to be lumps of butter in our mixture, because this will create air pockets in our cake and that is just nasty. And I also think that mixing these together as much as we do will make the cake fluffier and lighter and fluffier in the first place. So now that these are looking nice and smooth, grab your mincemeat. Now that we have our mincemeat, we are again going to just simply put this all in together in one big go. And now we're going to mix this together until well combined. Now that this is done and smelling, oh, just like Christmas, grab your flour and your baking powder. Now that we have our flour and our baking powder, we're just going to move everything off to the side for a second. Place that there. Wipe this down because I don't like a messy work surface. And we are going to mix these two together. So we're going to place all of our baking powder into our gluten-free self-raising flour. And now we're going to mix together until well combined. Now that our flour and our baking powder are well mixed, we are going to, mixing this mixture all the time, we are going to add a little bit of our flour mixture into our main mixture until our whole mixture is fully combined. So I need you over here. Put some of you in. There we go. So now that we've done that main lot of mixing, we're just going to scrape down our flour bowl. And now we're going to scrape down the sides of our mixing bowl. And now we're going to give this mixture one final mix for good luck. So now that this is all mixed together for the final time, we are going to begin spreading this between our 2 cake tins. So you are going to need your 2 cake tins. So now that we've got our 2 tins, we are simply going to spread our mixture between them evenly as possible. You can weigh this out and measure it exactly, but I like doing it by eye. So now that we've done this, we are going to spread these out to make them as flat as possible. Again, you can either do this with your spatula or your wooden spoon, it's completely up to you. So now that our cakes are out of the oven and are cooling, it is now time to begin making our filling. I have decided to make whipped cream as I love whipped cream, and I think that that will go really nicely with the cake. So to begin making our whipped cream, the first thing we're going to do is place our whisk parts or our hand whisk, our non-mechanic whisks or our mechanic whisks into the freezer for 20 minutes. Now that our whisk parts have had their 20 minutes in the freezer, it is now time to begin making our whipped cream. So we're basically just going to chuck everything in and mix it together. So here goes the cream. Your caster sugar. And your vanilla extract. So now we're going to mix these together until they're well combined, and when you pull the whisk out of the mixture, the bits that come out with the whisk will form stiff peaks. I also forgot to mention that you do want to keep stopping and checking it, because after a certain point it will become too over whipped, if you understand what I mean. So just every now and then stop and double check where you are and how close you are, and then you'll kind of know where you are. There we go, that looks about it. So now that we've finished making our whipped cream, it is now time to go into the piping bag. So for this you are going to need your elastic band, your piping bag and your tall glass. Okay, so now that we have our tall glass, our piping bag and our elastic band, we are going to open our piping bag as much as we can and then cut off a certain amount at the bottom. So I'm going to do about there, I don't know how much that is. Cut that off just so that the whipped cream can't go right to the bottom. Place that in your tall glass. Place the sides of your piping bag down the edges of your tall glass. And then to stop it all sort of crumpling in on each other while you're adding your whipped cream, just add a bit more to that actually. We're going to use an elastic band and tie it, or just place it around the edge. So now it can't, what I've already said. So now we're going to place our whipped cream into our piping bag. Okay, so just while this is kind of staying as it is, and I really hope that it doesn't fall on me, we are going to unravel our piping bag. There we go. Jiggle it about a bit so the filling goes to the bottom, a little bit more. Scrape everything down. And then to stop when you're piping the mixture going above and over you, we are going to use the same elastic band and tie the top, because this will just stop the mixture coming up over your hands while you're piping, which is what has happened to me on numerous occasions. There we go, pop that in there. Now that we've completed this, grab both of your slices of your cake and your display plate. So now that you've got your 2 slices of your cake and your display plate, or my cake board as I've decided to use, plus scissors, I forgot to mention that, we are going to place our first slice of our cake onto the board. So I'm going to use this one because it's closer. There we go. And now we are just going to begin piping on our whipped cream. So we are going to snip off the end of our piping bag. Place that in there for safekeeping. And you can do whatever design you like. I'm just going to completely fill it. No one's exactly going to see the inside, so it doesn't matter if you do a bad job like I'm doing. So now I'm actually going to leave this little bit because I want to go around the edges and make sure it's completely full. So now I'm going to place this cake on top. You can do it whichever way you want. You can do the flat side on top, but personally you're going to cover it in icing sugar, so it doesn't really matter. So down you go. Push you down a bit so the whipped cream travels. And now I'm just going to go around the edge of my cake, the sandwich bit, to make sure I get as much in there as I can. This would have been a really good time for a turntable. Now I have some more left over, so I could do a design around the bottom, but I don't actually know if I have that much for it, so I'm actually just going to save this for a rainy day. And now I'm going to grab my icing sugar and my sieve. So now that I have done everything, I'm going to begin decorating with my icing sugar and my sieve. This is mainly to make it look like a winter wonderland, which is a good excuse for me saying to cover up the cake tester holes. So plus it will, as I say, make it look like a winter wonderland. So just add as much as you like to your sieve. Okay. And just sieve around until you're happy. Oh look, it looks just like a winter wonderland. So cute. And that is it. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description, as I love them all and wouldn't put them there if I didn't, including the recipe for this lovely cake and my shop, where you will be able to buy all of the flour and equipment you will need for this recipe. If you do make this at home, don't forget to tag me on Instagram and use the hashtag BakingWithVicky. Let me know in the comments of anything else you'd like to see me make, gluten or yeast-free, as I do both. And finally, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time. Bye!